It's just another night for Supernatural Girls. Real stories, real answers to life's biggest supernatural mysteries. And now for another exciting interview with paranormal experts from this world and others. Here's your host, paranormal researcher Patricia Baker, on the one, the only Supernatural Girls.
Welcome, everyone, to another exciting episode of Supernatural Girls. I am here with my co-host, who still has her beautiful background, and I'm without mine, but what can I tell you? PK.
The good girl. You have it. You got to work at it.
I have to figure this out. It's been driving me crazy. But anyways, we're so glad to be here. My gosh. It's snowing outside where I am. It's probably beautiful and sunny where you are in Tucson.
Well, it is sunny, but it's a little chilly today.
Oh, okay.
Enough that I have to wear a sweater.
Oh, my God. In Tucson.
Yes. That's
unheard of. Well, I want to remind everybody to please follow us on all our social media. We're on TikTok. Subscribe to us on YouTube because you can see us there live every week, and everything else, Instagram, Facebook, you know the drill. But please follow us. We're going to be doing some even more exciting things starting right now because we have a tremendous guest that we've missed for the last couple of years. He's been busy. He's been very busy, and we're going to find out what he's been up to. But first, let's find out about the numbers.
Well, it's a new month. It's a 3-month. Which is all about optimism and great ideas. And the best part about it is you can take inventory of what you want to continue or eliminate right now. It's a perfect month that's going to teach you more about yourself and others, which you're going to take a bigger time out to look at what you need for yourself. You're going to be given answers at some time during this point in time. And the best part of the month is that it's going to find you're being very creative. There's a luck factor that goes with it. And it's especially so if it's your birth month. I have a few friends that it is their birth month. So be creative and a good communicator. That's the top of the list all month long. Don't allow gossip to be a part of your life because it does spread, as we well know. And you can be a bit of more of a dreamer right now because the month is about creation of all types. Be creative, including take another look at your wardrobe. What is it you want to add? What do you want to eliminate? Just take a look at being the best you that you can be to make you feel like you put up. Don't just decorate the Christmas tree, decorate you as well.
Oh, God. I need some new jewelry.
Oh, that's not a bad idea. I wasn't thinking of that. I was thinking, okay, jewelry's the name of the game.
Fun, you know us.
We forced ourselves into that.
I know.
But do be very cautious of any gossip that goes on. If you hear it, don't join in and don't try to challenge because it's going to be like a bouncing ball. It'll come back to you. Let it go.
Don't need that. Okay.
Nope.
It's gone. We're not going to participate in that, are we?
I'm going to be talking about you then.
Go ahead. Good things only. Well, our guest is absolutely one of our favorite people. He is so talented. He's a writer. Oh my gosh. He's written so many wonderful books, and he has a new book. And we wanted to have him here, of course. There it is. The original. So I know, look at that. It is stunning. The original Zodiac. And we're going to talk about how he found it and all kinds of other things. And we only have an hour, so we're going to get going right away. But I want to tell you a little bit about Graham in case people in our audience haven't met him yet. He is one of Britain's best-selling nonfiction authors. He's a former radio journalist and broadcaster for the BBC and founder of Strange Phenomena magazine. He is an historical investigator of unsolved mysteries, the author of many books, including The Templars and the Ark of the Covenant, The Lost Tomb of King Arthur, The End of Eden and Atlantis, and The 10 Plagues of Egypt. Graham lives in the Midlands of England, and he's here with us right now. Graham, welcome to the show.
Hello, I look very strange and red on this. Please excuse the weird lighting.
You look fabulous. You look wonderful.
You do, and it's great to see you. You're amazing. You know what we tell everybody about you, that if you are trying to disappear into the world, you don't want Graham Phillips tracking you because he will find you. He will.
For sure.
And this is true about you because you unearth the most amazing mysteries. You solve them. You bring them to such a great conclusion. And now you've uncovered another mystery, this ancient zodiac. How did you get to this?
Well, it started when I was investigating something completely different. I was investigating the strange death of Alexander the Great. Now, in the 300s BC, he took over most of the known world from his home in Macedonia and Greece. And he conquered the whole of the Persian Empire. And when he'd done that, he went to Babylon in what's now Iraq, near Baghdad. And he was having a kind of celebratory party with all the people around him that he knew and trusted, his various wives and his generals and so on. And somebody, it seems, poisoned him, because he died of all the signs of strychnine poisoning. But who did it? So I was doing a book called Murder in Babylon, all about that. But while I was researching Alexander the Great, I found that when he was in Babylon, he became really confused because the Greeks had a 12-sign zodiac like we know today. I mean, we get our zodiac from them, and the names like Scorpio and Sagittarius and so on, it's all Greek. Yes. But he found that in Babylon they had an 18-sign zodiac. Now the problem is that I couldn't find any actual references to this zodiac outside what Alexander's scribes had written, and they didn't describe what these particular signs were, what they related to in the year, and so on. And that's what started me doing it in the middle of the 90s, the 1990s.
Oh my goodness. So this is also related to Göbekli Tepe, right?
It is. Basically, just a sort of a background to it, this 18-sign zodiac, which I've called the original zodiac, was throughout Mesopotamia. Now, Mesopotamia was a fertile area that stretched from the Persian Gulf up through what's now Iraq and into at the very north into eastern Turkey. And Göbekli Tepe is in eastern Turkey, in what was Mesopotamia. And the zodiac seems to have started there. But I had to go back historically, sort of step by step, to trace it to Göbekli Tepe. And in fact, it wasn't until Göbekli Tepe was unearthed, just in the last just over a decade ago, that the final pieces came together. First of all, I managed to trace that had been dug up in ancient Babylon by archaeologists, a stone tablet that exists in the British Museum, which is inscribed in a language called cuneiform, which was basically what was spoken throughout Mesopotamia for a good few thousand years. And it talks about these 18 signs, and it talks about when they relate to in the year. Now, the zodiac we have now starts around March the 21st. The reason being that was the ancient New Year at the beginning of the growth season at the spring equinox. And this one started there too. But instead of the roughly 30 days for each zodiac sign we have now, it had about 20 days. So I kind of knew where it related to, but I didn't know what the signs were. And it was, I say, ultimately, not until Göbekli Tepe was excavated relatively recently that they found on the stones all these animals depicted. And to cut a long story short, it seems that each of these animals related to the 18 signs of the Mesopotamian original zodiac.
So you solved this mystery because nobody could figure that out, of why those animals were there, right?
Absolutely. They couldn't figure it out. You said the thing is, the archaeologists at Göbekli Tepe had one half of the clues. Cool, we've got all these amazing animals. I mean, this is 12,000 years old. I mean, the earliest civilizations that we'd really know much about that had writing and things like that, like the ancient Egyptians, and the first in southern Mesopotamia, like the Sumerians, and in the Indus Valley in India, these only started around about 5,300 years ago. This goes way back earlier. And nobody knew until Göbekli Tepe was excavated that people that long ago, which was really just at the end of the last ice age, They thought people were still they were living in villages in nothing but mud huts, people thought. But these people were creating amazing carvings on their stone circles. I mean, Göbekli Tepe is a series of like Stonehenge-like stone circles, but buried under the ground, but carved with these really intricate animal carvings that basically people, the archaeologists, hadn't thought that people for thousands of years after that would be able to do it.
Yes, it's still a mystery. I mean, there's still so many mysteries about Göbekli Tepe, right? Have you been there?
I've relied, my research has been all over the place, but the Göbekli Tepe part, I've relied on. What I do is, if I'm no expert on something, I was an expert on Alexander the Great, and I knew a lot about the Babylonians and their earlier civilizations, but I was no expert on Göbekli Tepe, and I had no time to spend years learning about Göbekli Tepe. And so I have a very good friend called Andrew Collins, who you may have had on the show.
Yes.
And he's one of the world's foremost experts on Göbekli Tepe. He's been going there since they first uncovered it, and he's written many books. And I was lucky to have long conversations with him and have his help in all this. So the Göbekli Tepe bit supplied the animals. I mean, incidentally, the word zodiac means in Greek of animals. So originally the Greek zodiac all had animals representing each of the signs. And so we know that the earlier Babylonian zodiac and the Mesopotamian zodiac of 18 signs was similar, but the Göbekli Tepe stuff, that showed us what the animals were.
I see. So we're talking about a fairly advanced civilization. Are we not?
Well, yes. I mean, what I found fascinating about it, I mean, I may as well tell you what some of the animals were. I've got them written on my other screen here in case I get them in the wrong order. You've got a spider.
Yeah.
You've then got what's called an aurochs, which is an early form of wild cattle. It's basically what domestic cattle came from. It's sort of like a buffalo. You've got other creatures, a vulture, a gazelle, a serpent, all different to what we have in the modern zodiac. Some of them are similar in roughly the same places, but not quite, such as there's a scorpion there, like Scorpio, and there's also a goat. So we've got some of them. Now, what I found fascinating is, what did they actually use this zodiac for? Now, okay, we can go back to find out what the Mesopotamians in Babylon used it for. We know that they did birth charts and people figured out what planets were where in what part of the sky. But none of that was actually really, or any writings about that have been lost. So we only knew what the sun sign was, how they did sun signs. Now, for those who don't know all about astrology, what is a sun sign? Okay, the zodiac is an imaginary band of sky that goes, imagine you've got the sun in the middle, and you've got this imaginary band of sky there, and you've got the earth somewhere here, and that is where all the planets and the sun and the moon there. So as seen from Earth, the sun, because all the planets and the moon go round the sun in roughly the same plane, as observed from Earth, each of these heavenly bodies are only ever seen in one of the 12 zodiac signs we know now. There are 88 actual constellations, like others like Orion and so forth, and Pegasus, but they're all up here somewhere. And because the planets and the moon and everything only go round on this band here, that's called the zodiac. And the 12 zodiac constellations, I mean, if you look at, say, Aries, it's just 3 or 4 stars in a kind of wiggly line. It doesn't look anything like a ram. And the same way for the others, really. They don't look anything like anything. You could join the dots up in whatever way you wished. So over history, people have had others, they've joined those dots up, the stars that are in the zodiac band, up into different shapes, like Central America, the Maya civilization. They had what we would now call Scorpio. They saw as 2 separate constellations. One was a turtle and the other was a buzzard. So, you know, you can make that. And the Egyptians, what we call Aquarius, they saw as two turtles. So it can be done in whatever way you want. Now, the question was, how did the Greeks decide that they looked or had anything to do with a bull for Taurus and a scorpion for Scorpio? How did they even decide that was, these stars should be connected together?
How did they make those associations?
Hey?
How did they make those associations?
How did they do it? Now, people had thought that, okay, the constellation was first named Aries because, it's a charging goat, powerful figure, and that people born when the sun appeared to be in that part of the sky, as seen from Earth, it was in that area of the sky where Aries is, that people born in that sign, the way they named that sign Aries, people born in that period, that 30-day period, or roughly 30-day period, they observed over many years the kind of characteristics and personality traits they had. And they noticed that they were determined people. They would forge ahead, sometimes at the cost of everything around them. It reminded them of a ram. So they decided to call that section of the year, that 30-day section, Aries. And then, because the sun was in a part of the sky when the sun moved, they could see what particular stars were there. They said that is called Aries, and we'll join the dots up roughly to make a figure of a goat. So in other words, the signs were named after the people's personalities when the sun was in that part of the sky, not the other way round. Mm-hmm. So my next thing was, how did the earlier 18 sign zodiac work?
Yes.
Oh, I went on a bit there.
How did they do this?
Right. Okay. So it seems that because there's no form of writing going back to Göbekli Tepe. I mean, we're talking 12,000 years ago. And as far as we know, there was no form of writing developed until about 5,500 years ago. Mm-hmm. So how would they have done this? Well, it seems that perhaps what they did over many, many years is when they saw somebody who was, let's say, they got a sting in the tail. They were the kind of people who you've got to be very careful of. They can hide. They can be very careful and gradually plan something like a scorpion, and they've got a sting in the tail. You better be careful of those people. And so they would name 120-day period after the scorpion. So at first they divided the year into 20 segments. We don't know why. We know that the 12 segments that the Greeks divided the year into was kind of roughly corresponded with the 12 lunar cycles in a year. But it had to keep changing. So it was a bit complicated. So, I mean, because if you start the full moon and then you take 28 and something days and another 28 and something days, by the time you get round to the next year, you've got a load of days to make up. So they basically had 30 or 31 days a month. And that's how it started. We don't know why originally there was 18, but they would choose a particular period of time, decide what best creatures best represented people who were born at that time, and that's what that constellation was named after. Now, to give you an example, the first sign is the spider. Now, the spider is a creature, the date of it, for example, is the 21st of March up until April the 9th. And they probably saw that people born at that time had spider-like characteristics. Now, a spider is extraordinarily creative. It's one of the only animals, in fact, the only one I can think of other than birds, that actually make something. Yeah. I mean, birds make nests. Spiders make all sorts of different forms of webs, and they're very clever. So somebody who's creative was represented by the spider. The spider is more of a solitary creature, and not like insects that tend to live together, like swarms of bees, hives of wasps, and whatnot. So you've got a creature that's solitary, a person who tends to work best alone, who's very creative, and so that person would be considered to be right. That's the spider, and we go on, so on and so forth through all the other signs. So that's how I thought they worked it out. And what I needed to do next was try and recreate that so I could do readings today.
Yes. Yes. Well, when I was looking at the book, of course, I had to read about my own sign. Who else did I read
What
about?
were you? What are you?
Crayfish.
Oh, the
And-
crayfish.
Now, right after the crayfish is the lion, and I'm a Leo by traditional stuff. But I was fascinated by the similarities that, I mean, I got a lot out of it, first of all. And this is what I want to tell everybody listening. This is a very helpful book because the way you broke it out, I've never seen anything like that. It's just so specific about what you're like as a partner, what you're like as a parent. Okay, all of that. You broke it out in great detail. And I was like, wow, this is phenomenal. So everybody, if you're looking for a great Christmas gift, here it is, right here, this book.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Perfect.
it's so beautiful. But what's under this cover, what's inside is so helpful. And to me, it's so mystical because here, as you described, the civilization that we think we know about was in mud huts. And then there's Göbekli Tepe, which nobody fully understands, but created something that today we're still deciphering. How did they come to this? Who were those people? That's my question. But the book is very, very fascinating. And again, I just love how you broke it out into so many different places where you look at your life and you go, yeah, I can relate to this. That in my negative side, I can get like that. In my positive side, which is where I'd rather be, this is what I need to strive for. So it's great.
Well, I managed to, and what I was able to do, and probably why it may be more accurate even than the normal form of astrology in some respects, is the amount of the time of the periods for each one is shorter. So you've got 20 days as opposed to 30. So you've got more science to go around, if you like. But the main thing is because it's written for people today. Now, I was trying to figure out, well, no form of writing, we're not going to know how a person who was the spider or the crayfish, what they're supposed to be like. You can say vaguely, okay, they must have thought people born in that is like a spider-like person. They're independent and they're also creative. And the crayfish is something that they were people who were particularly spiritual. The crayfish represented the higher mind and things like this. So very often those people would be the ones who people would look to for guidance. But not a lot more than that could you really say. So I thought, hold on a minute. Now I know what each of these signs are, and I know what dates they are. I know what they're called, I know what dates they are. Okay, I would like to be able to try and find out if it works, it works. So if I could do a survey of all the people today born in each sign, like enough of them, 100 or 200 or something, I could figure out what their likes were, their dislikes, what they wanted to do with their lives, are they athletic, are they mathematical, and so on. I could work all that out. But exactly. I mean, I was thinking about this for many years. I mean, it was okay. So I found out like just over a decade ago what the creatures were for each of the signs when Göbekli Tepe was excavated. I had to wait till then, from the mid-90s. Then I had to keep waiting. I thought, well, I can start questioning people I know and do a little form and start filling it out. But it would take for ages. The original people who worked this out back in ancient times at Göbekli Tepe, say, would have spent generations coming up with this. They didn't write it down, but they'd have become aware of what was going on. They'd have passed down orally to the next generation what it was all about. It had taken forever to do it. Well, I couldn't do that. I've got other things to do. I've got grails to find. I've got the Ark of the Covenant to find. I can't spend all my time doing surveys.
That too.
But it was only very recently, in the last couple of years, that there's become a way I could do it. AI. I could literally use an AI to literally say, okay, can you tell me 100 famous people? Because, I mean, everybody's birthdays out there. Give me 100 famous people born in between these two dates, like the spider, say, or like the crayfish, born between whatever dates they are, 21st of July, August the 10th. Give me 20 people, give me 100 people born at that time. There immediately. Oh, right. Okay. Tell me if any of these are sports people. Do it with 500. And so on and so forth. So I could literally get a chart
Yeah.
and say, show us what people here are athletic, so are they sports people, are they musicians, are they creative? And the AI did it all.
That's phenomenal.
I mean, I thought, well, it couldn't have happened. I couldn't have done it until now.
Exactly.
And obviously I didn't write what the AI said. I had to spend a couple of years, 18 months trying to figure the whole thing out. And then I wrote the book. So that is probably why it's really accurate, because it's about people that are alive today.
Yes, it makes sense. But again, I keep thinking, Graham, who were these people? Who did it? 12,000 years ago? I mean, because you're talking about some, a group of people or community who could discern psychological characteristics.
It's almost that they're the original psychologists.
Yeah.
Well, okay. That was going to be my next book, trying to work out who these people were. But this book about the Knights Templars I'm doing at the moment, searching for their treasure, that's going to be coming out hopefully around about Christmas time. Okay. And then I'm going to be on to this next one. But just to give you a brief background of it, we know that the Mesopotamian civilization started in the north and then gradually moved south. The reason being that what's now eastern Turkey, where Göbekli Tepe is, used to be a very fertile, lush place. But then after the end of the Ice Age, then when the waters began to melt on the ice and all the climate change, some places got better, some got worse. And northern Mesopotamia didn't do too well. So people moved further south. But the southern Mesopotamia was much warmer, much more lush. And that's where the first civilization started many millennia later. So they're moving gradually south. So it seems that the people who built Göbekli Tepe, now the archaeologists haven't yet found out much about them. They found no dwellings. I mean, they found
nothing.
Temporary huts that they used when they were hunting, but they haven't found any cities or anything. But people who are capable of building something like Göbekli Tepe must have had some pretty sophisticated brick buildings, but they haven't found them anywhere. No. So is it to the north? Well, not far north of where Göbekli Tepe is, there is the Black Sea. It's a huge sea. I mean, you could fit all the Great Lakes in there and have plenty of space to, left over. And it's attached now to the Mediterranean. So the Mediterranean's here. You've got a narrow channel called the Bosphorus, which separates two parts of Turkey. It's where Istanbul is. And it goes into this other part, the Black Sea. Now, the Black Sea is surrounded by places like Georgia, Ukraine, Russia, and eastern Turkey. Now, the Black Sea was once completely dry land. Now, during the Ice Age, and this might sound incredible, so much water was tied up in ice. I mean, ice in America went all the way down to the Great Lakes. Solid ice, 2 miles thick, like you get now in Greenland or Antarctica. 2 miles thick. And then in Europe, it went down, almost covered all of Britain. And it was 2 miles thick. Incredible. Now, when all that ice covering half the world melts, the seas go, and the seas are known to have been, at the end of the last ice age, 400 feet lower than they are now. So the ice melted pretty quickly over a few thousand years after the ice age finished. And that only finished just before or around the time that Göbekli Tepe is built. Now, when Göbekli Tepe was built, or just before it, what's now the Black Sea was a low-lying area, a huge, great area with forests as far as they can work out, and lakes, rivers, dry land, fields, you name it. And separating the Black Sea from the Mediterranean, where the Bosphorus now is, this channel, there was a kind of 5 mile wide kind of natural dam. It was about 3 miles thick, about 5 miles wide, and it separated, as the waters started to rise in the Mediterranean, it separated the Mediterranean waters from this low-lying area about 200 or 300 feet lower, the other side. in the Black Sea. As the ice, there was more and more melting ice. Eventually what happened is the water started coming over this natural dam. And it wasn't long before the power of the water broke it. And there was something that's estimated to be 100 times larger than the Niagara Falls, with millions and millions of gallons pouring over it every second, that flooded this area over a period of maybe only a year or two. So any civilization that was there, which was possibly the people that then had to escape, the ones that didn't die in this calamity, managed to become the people who built Göbekli Tepe. And after that, when climates changed, they disappeared or they merged into the civilized, the peoples who are further south. So the Black Sea, because it's deep and it's a right mess, it's very difficult to see what's down there. And imagine this water would have destroyed anything. I think there was a civilization there that the people from Göbekli Tepe were the last part of. And I think it's something that's remembered in Mesopotamian legend. There's the legend of Gilgamesh, and it's written down in their earliest writings about a man who basically is involved in a great flood that, as far as they were concerned, covered the world. And it was that story that was then taken into the Bible and becomes Noah's flood. And I think that is probably what happened to the people who were the early Göbekli Tepe civilization. They were destroyed in Noah's flood.
Wow, that is perfect.
Incredible
Explanation for what was going on back then. But let me ask you again, because I just can't stop thinking about this with these people, who they were. They also covered it up, right? They covered up Göbekli Tepe.
They did when they moved on. There was they keep finding more of them, but I think, as far as I know, there's quite a few stone circles about the size of Stonehenge, which I don't know. I think each of the stones is about maybe 12 feet tall or something, and they're huge, wide, and great big thick things. And they're in a circle. They're not exactly like Stonehenge because they're like T-shaped, a lot of them. But it's like imagine a sort of Stonehenge type thing, but with better shaped stones, made originally really square shaped, right? Stonehenge wasn't that well made compared to this. They're all well squared off originally, and obviously over the years it's got more damage, but you can see it in some of them. They're still very well preserved. Okay, stone circles, and they had a number of them. And around these stone circles, they built like these walls and things. And they did other things there too. They cut down into the ground, into rocks, and created what looked like what people describe as plunge pools. They're like filled with water, and they were used for some maybe ritualistic purposes. Maybe they were just to contain water that you drink, but they were making these other things too. Then when the time came for them to leave the area because of climate change that I mentioned, what they decided to do was literally to bury all of these things. I think they probably thought that they were coming back at some point, and they didn't want them destroyed by the weather or by other hostile tribes who were going to come along and knock them down or whatever. And of course, they never came back. So what was left there was like this hill that is what the name Tepe is. Like, I think it means a hill of some kind. And that was all that was left there, this Tepe, this hill, which nobody knew what was under it until relatively recently.
Yes, exactly. A sister site also that I was reading about.
Karahan Tepe.
Yes, they started excavating. I wonder if have they found similar animal carvings there? They
have, but they've also found other things too, which are really weird, that are probably to do. I mean, remember that if the people who were observing the stars back then without light, pollution, are seeing. I mean, I don't know if you live anywhere near the countryside or anything, but in Britain, there's virtually nowhere you can go where you can see stars properly. I mean, you can see the brightest one. But if you go out to the middle of nowhere, I mean, probably the only time I've ever seen a proper sky is when I was stuck in the middle of the Arizona desert once.
Oh, there you are.
Like, wow.
Yeah,
that's right.
That's what the sky is supposed to look like.
But you can see easily the planets and how they move around and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
And the main thing that you see up there is this huge, great kind of Milky Way, which you don't see where I am here in the middle of a city, Birmingham in the centre of England. It's got like 4 million people around me with lights and everything. You just see a few dots in the sky you can see Orion or something, and that's about it. And the North Star and the Big Dipper, but that you don't see much more. But of course, you've got this great big band of the Milky Way, and I think what's happened is that they in Karahan Tepe have got a representation of that Milky Way in the form of like a serpent that they must have seen it as across the sky. And then around that, they've got other figures that look like gods of some kind. They're people without mouths. They've got these funny round eyes, and their hands are like this. They probably, I'm just guessing. I don't know. The work's only just been started there, really. But they could represent the planets. And the thing about planets that have fascinated all early civilizations is you've got the moon that moves around, and you've got the sun. All the stars stay in the same relative position to each other. And as the Earth rotates, or as they would have thought it, as the sky moves, all these stars stay in relative the same position to each other. The Big Dipper always looks like a Big Dipper. It doesn't start moving around. Exactly. But the planets, and that comes from a Greek word meaning wanderer, quite literally wander around the sky, because they're not that far, when they're not millions of light years or hundreds of light years away like the stars are, or light years away. They're within the solar system and they move around. And they would have obviously, like most, I would have guessed anyway, like most ancient civilizations, like the Romans or the Greeks, would have considered these wanderers, these planets, to be gods. Like Mars is a Roman god, and Jupiter is, and so on. And I think that these creatures that they're finding there, which seem to be like huge, great chess pieces that they could move around on a board. So I think what Karahan Tepe might be, I'm sure that people working there, the archaeologists will say this is too speculative, but they were kind of movable. Some of them are small, some of them are bigger, movable figures representing the planets that they moved around on an area that represented the sky with the Milky Way as a serpent in the middle of it. So I think this is where they were plotting the planets, either to say, right, Mars is there now, or Mars is in that constellation by the Spider, oh, that's not good, or whatever.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, this is so much to take in. It's brilliant the way you think about this. I mean, I would just think, oh, they were extraterrestrials. I mean, who else could have done this? Because there was nobody in the population that was that advanced. But like you're saying, there might have been this other civilization to the north that did all of this. Still, it's
indeed. In fact, there was many civilizations, early civilizations in the world that disappeared at the end of the last ice age. I mean, okay, archaeologists and historians, the bona fide ones in universities, will not believe in things like Atlantis and all that.
Yeah.
But what they do say, there was what they call proto-civilizations, not people like the Egyptians that built pyramids or the Sumerians who built great big ziggurats and stuff like this. No, but people who were more advanced than people, at least advanced as, say, the people that built Stonehenge. They were living in relatively secure buildings that were, that they would have brick walls around them, and they would be able to keep warm in the winter, and they could move stones and do all this. And that these proto-civilizations got going at the end of the last ice age. See, first of all, when the ice age finished, the sea levels basically went up a bit, and then stopped. And everybody kind of said, right, what seems to have happened about that time, and nobody quite knows why, is that people throughout the world suddenly abandoned hunter and gathering existence and started settling in villages and growing crops. They discovered somehow all over the world, in India, in Central America, South America, Europe, all over the place, they discovered agriculture, how to plant things and grow them at the same time. How that happens, nobody knows.
Yeah.
But they did this, And then they started to establish the first little towns, large settlements of more than 1,000 people, usually by the seaside, because they can also live off the fish and the sea and everything. They've got the land, and a lot of these places that were on the coastal areas of the continents ended up being a few hundred feet under the water. So these early proto-civilizations that suddenly started getting going, including the one in the Black Sea, or what is now the Black Sea, all kind of got wiped out about the same time. Obviously, people would have died. Obviously, people would have moved away before most of it wasn't as dramatic as this great waterfall coming over into the Black Sea. But the waters would have risen and people would have moved inland, met other people who are more hostile to them. There would have been a lot of deaths and a lot of starvation. And so a lot of civilizations throughout the world probably did disappear at the same time around 12,000 years ago.
How strange. Now, has anybody thought to take a look in that area in the Black Sea? I know you're saying it's rather difficult to see.
Well, it's only been in the last few years that it's been possible. I mean, now just on the north coast of Scotland is the Orkney Isles. I think, did I talk to you before about the civilization that may have existed off the north coast of Scotland when I was on before my book, The Mystery of Doggerland? No, maybe not.
I don't recall.
Basically, there was a civilization. It seems that there was a civilization off the north coast of Scotland, and they know this now, where the land obviously flooded after the Ice Age, because they've got boats that have the kind of ability to not only just do a sonar to see what the bottom of the bottom of the sea looks like, but various types of radar and everything that can really have a big, very detailed pattern of what's down there. Now,
so they have the technology.
Just of that, just a few years ago, they managed to find underwater stone circles like Stonehenge are down there. So now we know that civilization did exist off the coast of Scotland before they ever built Stonehenge. Okay, now you'd think, so it's just in the last few years we could do the same in the Black Sea. It's a war zone, unfortunately, between Russia and Ukraine. No one's going to go anywhere near the place.
It's going to go there now.
So we're going to have to wait, unfortunately.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Just think, like, what could be down there? It could be amazing.
It's fascinating.
Yeah. And you have this amazing mind where you figure all this stuff out. I mean, I follow you there. I'm like, how this?
I'm in awe of what he comes up with.
Yeah, because it all makes sense. It all makes perfect sense, and yet it's nothing I would ever think of. But you put the pieces together in this puzzle. It's so much fun. I mean, really, it's so much fun to hear you talk about all of this.
Oh, definitely.
Thank you. I think what I do, which I love, I mean, you've got a lot of academics that know far, far more about things than I do, like academics and people know far more about Göbekli Tepe than I ever know. And people know far more about Mesopotamian civilizations like Babylon than I'll ever know, and so on. But because I'm not attached to a university, and I'm a journalist, originally was, and I look at things in a journalist way, I can actually go and talk to the experts, read what they've written, read the papers that they've had published, look at that bit that I need from there, and then go to over here and look at another bit from there and piece the pieces of the jigsaw together. And generally speaking, most of these archaeologists and historians, I mean, somebody who's investigating the Göbekli Tepe would never talk to anyone who'd studied astrology.
No,
they wouldn't have the time for a start. It wouldn't have what I can do.
They wouldn't.
And that's how I put it together.
Yeah, well, you have an open mind too, and so you embrace a lot more subjects, and I think that creates a better outcome because you're not narrowed in, like you said. You're not attached to university. You don't have to go by a script and promote an agenda. You are open to what is the truth, and that's why you are able to do this so beautifully. And so it really is fun to listen to you talk about how you explored all this and then understood this is where it could have come from. It's great. And really, Göbekli Tepe to me is the biggest mystery, and I can't wait to hear more about the excavations there. Although I don't think that's going to give us the answer. I think you're going to give us the answer.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
No,
Those are more
Very true.
strange things, and you're going to put it all together. So I can't wait. I really can't. It's exciting. But I also want to talk about your other book, because you have that, you said, coming out this month about the Templar
I'm
treasure.
hoping to get it out for the new year because I'm self-publishing that. Because
Okay.
the thing with publishers, great as though they are, it takes about 2 years from when you eventually have the book finished until they bring it out. They've got so many others to get out and so on.
True.
So I brought out a book self-published the year before last, and the fact is I'd finished writing it, and 3 weeks later it was available on Amazon, published through Amazon. And then, okay, people can't get them in the shops, but 80% of people will buy them on Amazon or something similar.
That's
They
right.
won't be going around shops. Unfortunately, if I'm going to do a book now about, say, the treasure of the Knights Templars, and I think I know where it is, but that'll have to wait for the next book to come out. But the thing is, if I was doing that with an ordinary publisher, they would start promoting the book and talk about it to people, and everyone would know where this was 2 years or a year or so before it came out.
Yeah.
I know friends of mine who are historians that write books, and they said, by the time it comes out, other people have stolen all my ideas or got ahead of me, and it's all out there. And by the time mine comes out and I get all the publicity, even though I was the first one to do it, people are saying, oh, that's old news, isn't it? We don't want to know about that.
That's
And
a very good point.
up with things now so fast because of the internet and so on. So it's self-publishing for me from now on. I mean, I've been published by all sorts of publishers all over the world, some of the biggest ones like Macmillan and Random House, but none of them, it's all the same with all of them. It takes a long time for them to get it out.
It does. You're right. I know. It's
and then also, you probably how things move so quickly, all your information is probably out of date anyway.
Yes.
Oh, good point.
Right, so now this book that you're publishing yourself, when can people get it?
Well, I'm hoping to. I'm writing it now. I was writing it just before I started speaking to you, and I shall carry on writing it right after speaking to you. So that's, and I'm hoping to get it finished with myself and my friend Jodie, who've written another book together. We're both doing it together, and she's doing some of the work I'm doing, other parts of it. And we've done all the research. We know what we've found. It's ready to be published. All I've got to do is finish writing it, and that should be in the next couple of weeks. All we're going to do is lay the whole thing out with all its pictures and everything else. And I'm hoping to get it out for Christmas, but if not, it'll be the new year.
That's wonderful.
I don't know what I'm going to call it yet. It'll be something, the Templar Treasure or the Treasure of the Templars or something.
Yes. And so you have an idea of where it is. You think you know. See, everybody's got to buy this book now, too. Now you have 2 books.
That's right. Get it published so you can come right back on the air with us.
No, first of all, what's in the treasure and where the heck is it? So you're going to want to know these things. You got to buy these books. Yes. I mean, this is something that has been talked about for so many years, but you found it. I know you did.
Well, it's not the first book I've written about the Templars. I wrote a book, as you mentioned earlier, called The Templars and the Ark of the Covenant. That was something else that they were supposed to have found.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't find the Ark of the Covenant, but I found enough evidence to suggest that they really had found it, and they'd brought it back to England, and they'd hidden it somewhere over here. And it seemed like the research I did, and that was for this other book back in 20 years ago or something. The problem was, I mean, they left all these clues. They in the church that they used to worship in until they were outlawed in the early 1300s. They had put all these. The Black Death. They lasted longer in Britain than in other places, and they were still going here in the middle of the 1300s when the Black Death swept the country. They knew that they were going to die. It was wiping out entire villages. Imagine living at the time. You hear somebody manages to kind of get close to the village and has to shout because no one's going close to each other. Oh, the next village along, there's only 3 people left alive. I mean, this is coming, and they thinking that they're going to get wiped out at this place called Burton Dasset, which is not far from Stratford upon Avon, where Shakespeare was born.
Right.
They knew their end was coming, and so what they did is they hid whatever they had, their treasures, which included this thing that seems to have been the Ark of the Covenant, or at least they thought it was. And then they left all these clues on the wall that would only be understood by other Knights Templars that had survived when they came there. Sensible idea. The problem was that no Templars came. They were all wiped out, the ones that had any idea about this treasure at all. And so what happened was that over the years, this church was still there. It was all plastered up. Nobody knew that these particular paintings still survived. There was rumors that in this church there had been left clues as to where this treasure was, but it wasn't found until the end of the 1800s, when they decided to remove the plaster to fix the church up. It was getting a bit dilapidated, and they found what remained of these murals written all over the walls that seemed to suggest where this ark was hidden. And cutting a very long story short, I managed to follow it so far, but there was so much damage done to all this, all these wall paintings, that we couldn't take it all the way. But one place that I thought some of this treasure must have been buried, we got archaeological excavation there. We had a guy doing geophysics, in other words, radar that looks under the ground to see what's there, and they could tell there was a building down there, and it dated from the right time. Wow. The problem was, a lot of it was knocked down in the 1950s by a building company to make way for a road. We traced up the building company.
That's horrible.
He suddenly became extraordinarily rich.
Oh my God.
Then when he died, he left all his property to the Freemasons. So I'm trying to get them to say more about it. But that was the Ark of the Covenant. There you go.
Incredible.
It is such a wild thing. And yeah, I mean, you never know who's going to end up with these artifacts and treasures.
True.
Probably people have never expected to went in looking for them.
Yeah, maybe so. Well, I hope maybe I can
what they are.
something like that in my backyard. I don't know.
In your backyard, yes, I can believe it.
Yeah, maybe there is something back there. But this is so exciting. This is exciting stuff. I can see where you would stay up at night just thinking about this. You and Jody both. I mean, this is just incredible. Amazing. It's just finding that. Now, what do you? We only have a few minutes left, but what do you think's in the treasure?
Do I think what? Sorry.
What do you think comprises this treasure? What's in it?
Well, biblical relics, that stuff that was supposed to have come from the Temple of Solomon. Now, Solomon is supposed to have lived about 1000 BC, 3000 years ago, according to the Bible. And he was the king of Israel, and he built a temple in Jerusalem, which all that's left of it now is the Wailing Wall. You know where people worship in Jerusalem. And the Knights Templar, during the Crusades, in the 1100s, when the Christian armies of Europe were battling the Muslim armies of the Middle East for possession of Jerusalem, because it was a holy city to both of them. And during this time, when the Europeans managed to, for a time, occupy Jerusalem, they created what's known as the Kingdom of Jerusalem, which is basically what Israel covers now. And the Knights Templars were set up there as a kind of military organization to guard pilgrims who were on the way to the Holy Land.
So they had access. They had access.
They had access. The King of Jerusalem, he was a guy that was appointed by the Pope, basically, or he was elected, but also appointed by the Pope to rule this Christian kingdom in the middle of all this hostile area of Arab forces. And this King of Jerusalem said to the Templars, I want you to kind of be my bodyguard, basically, and I'll billet you. Your barracks are going to be in this area here. And the area he chose for them was what was the Temple of Jerusalem, built by Solomon. And the Bible tells us he was a really rich guy. He had all sorts of stuff. And this is what the Templars are supposed to have found when they were building the foundations for their fort in Jerusalem. And it included not only great treasures and gold and diamonds and that, supposedly, it also included holy relics, like the Ark of the Covenant and other things like the sword of David and things like that.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Well, will you come back and talk about your book when it's available for sale?
I would love to.
Okay, I'm going to talk to Gail and we'll make a plan. based on the publication of the book. And Graham, thank you so much for.
Oh no, it won't be Gail, not for this one. This will be what I'm doing myself.
Okay.
She only does them for Inner Tradition.
Okay. Well,
I actually sent this book to Inner Traditions and they didn't want it.
Oh, that's
You're
They're
kidding.
Who did that?
Fools that they are.
It's not Gail,
They're
it's the people
fools,
who
yeah.
decide what they're doing
I
actually
know.
in the
Gail,
editorial department.
Gail has good insight. She would have known this is going to be.
Oh no, Gail's got great insight.
That's right. That's right. But thank you so much. So we will stay in touch. Please let us know when the book is going to drop, and then we'll have you on when it's convenient for your schedule. And we'll try to talk Bill into another daytime. I'll see if he can do it. But anyway, it's such a pleasure, Graham, and congratulations on this beautiful book. Bill, can you put it up one more time so everybody can see it? I don't know where Bill is.
He's got the sleep.
Anyways,
It's called the original Zodiac.
Yeah, that's right. We need the Zodiac book so that everybody can see it. It's
Definitely.
gorgeous. A great Christmas present. Everybody buy it. You will be very, very excited to read about your own sign and your families and friends. So we will be back, I think, next week with our producer.
God bless us, right?
And we'll have another great show, everybody. Stay safe, and we will see you on the Blue Highway.
Thank you, Graham. It was delightful, as always.
Pleasure being on again. Lovely. Thank
It's
you.
great. Thank you. Lots of love to you and Jody. Keep up the great work.
Definitely.
Okay. Good night, everyone.
Good night.